Hey, Podcast America. Welcome to episode 30 of the Enlightened Neanderthals podcast.
Is that what it is? 30?
It's 30.
Welcome to the 30s.
Exactly. Let's talk about Tyler Stanaway and the Compassionate Viking and all the stuff he's got going out there real quick. It's hard to keep up with him because it's
ever evolving.
But he's doing rune readings and ceremonies and
Stones and Bones shaman.
Stones and Bones.
Forest school.
Well, Forest school is over till the summer.
Okay.
I'm just going to say go to compassionateviking.com to check out. It's always something interesting. It's never boring.
Yeah.
Whatever he's got going on out there.
Blacksmithing, making knives, making,
Yeah. Homesteading.
Potions.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
And then we've got my own Training Northwest. I'll be putting out the firearms training schedule in early January. I'll probably have that up on the web January 2nd. And in the meantime, we are a Vortex Optics dealer. And if you're local and buy a optic from us, you can come out and zero it on our range, and I'll run you through a couple of drills because I do believe in your readiness, and I don't want you having a new optic just sitting on the shelf all by its lonely self because you couldn't get out and zero it. And if you want to support a small business, you can order an optic online. And I think that's about all we got for intros. Mike, what did we talk about today? We covered a lot. I always throw this to you.
You're good. What the hell did we talk about?
We started out with new expectations for Training Northwest and kind of direction.
Why America's failing.
Yeah.
Instantly divulge. No, talked about goals, talked about American goals, maybe why we have problems a little bit because of lack of goals. I think we talked about a little bit of not FOMO, but who you think you are and who you really are.
Yeah.
Maybe that applies to Training Northwest, and maybe that applies to the world and what's happening. Who you think you are in this world and what you really need to be might be two different things.
Yeah.
And then I learned I speak cursive.
Yes, you do. All right, guys. Enjoy the show.
That's kind of what we do here.
That is what we do here. What do we do here, Mike?
We help promote visions. Like we make visions
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Pristine.
Boats and hoes. No, that's kind of what debate and just like I said earlier, the what ifs. And that's what if my life could be this? What if it was that? And then so it's like, okay, you have this final goal of what you want or you think a dream life is. Now, how do you make it happen? You have to have a goal and then put a plan into effect. You don't put a plan into effect without a goal. And the what ifs are always the goals of life. And that's the fun part. Some people are like, what if I become a millionaire? What if I become a pilot? What if I become a doctor? Right? And you can either enact a plan and do it, or you become a plumber, or not saying that's bad, or a guy that does construction, or you hold road signs, or you become someone that works at a grocery store.
Is he talking shit right now?
I was just thinking that I think you and I were having a conversation before we started recording, and he had no clue what we were talking about. So this I am not tracking at all.
We're creating dreams.
Jordan and I were talking about something totally different.
That's hilarious.
We're creating dreams, but that's it. What do you want it to become? And now,
Well, what do you want life to become?
no, Training Northwest. That is your life.
It's becoming my second life. What we were saying earlier is that this is going into third year, I think, or maybe this is the fourth. I think third. But I've been kind of learning how to just run just a little weekend business. It's taken up a shitload of my spare time. And so now that I've sort of got all of that under my belt, now I'm starting to get a little more focused on what I want to do with the business. And something that's always bothered me is that obviously we teach firearm safety and application out there. And people think, I think they're always a little put off when I'm not a gun guy because I teach firearm safety and application, but I don't really get all that excited about guns. I don't pay much attention to them.
Yeah.
I have all stock, like no fancy custom anything, just stock shit you'd buy off the shelf. It's like a tool, and I have probably 6 pairs of channel locks of different sizes and shapes at work.
Yeah.
A 9mm pistol is just a tool in the toolbox, right?
It's like a hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
No one cares about
you got a framing hammer.
What kind of hammer you got there?
Yeah,
no one
exactly.
really cares.
Yeah, nobody.
Some guys do, but
There are a couple guys that get really into tools. There's guys that get really into guns.
Yeah.
I'm not really into guns. I just appreciate their application and their use. And so I see in the 2A community, there's a lot of idealism around sort of, I guess, idolizing soft units and soft soldiers, special operations forces. And so you see a lot of guys just buying equipment to sort of clone whatever picture they've seen on the internet or whatever, and not really putting in the time to better themselves physically and technically, but then B, also not sort of understanding what their role would be and what their, I don't want to say mission profile would be, but because there will be nobody giving you a mission in sort of like a civil unrest type situation, but what your responsibility, I guess, to your sort of family and loved ones would be. And it's like, going back to the gear, like, I buy all the gear, I stock up on ammo, and I'm good. But can you run 3 miles with a backpack on and a rifle over your shoulder?
Yeah.
Even if it's at a shuffle, can you make it? Or can you do 50 push-ups? Or can you climb a mountain and then, I don't know, pick somebody up and then drag them back down the mountain?
Yeah.
And if you can't do things like that, and I guess
Adjust your role.
Say what?
You just got to adjust your role, right? Like, not everybody's going to be in that situation. Not everybody would be a fighter. They could be the
well, but there's a lot of men, particularly, who love this idea of sheepdog, where they say I'm a protector, and to be fair, I believe that as a man you should be a protector of your family and of your community. Mm-hmm. But in order to sort of embrace that role, you need to do more than just buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
you actually have to get out and do the difficult part, which is your mind, body, and spirit. And you have to have all 3 of those things fit to fight before you, or else you're not going to be like, if your body isn't fit, if your mind isn't straight, and if your spirit isn't centered, you're not going to be able to fight when it's like a life or death thing.
Yeah. I think people get wrapped up in things a lot. Like if I have, this is the way I thought when I got my first pistol. And it's because I have this thing, now I'm unstoppable, But what makes that thing useful is you. Just that gun sitting there is not going to shoot anyone. That's a threat, You have to be proficient as the person. And I see this a lot with people that, kind of have these conversations and they're like, yeah, the world falls apart, but I've got all these guns. And it's like, okay, congratulations. You have a stockpile, but you're not very physically fit. You don't have a group. One person with 50 guns sucks. 50 guys, each with 1 gun, is way more effective.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing about things. Like thinking this thing is here, now I'm safe. And you talk about people being gear guys. I think in Vietnam era, most people weren't gear guys, the average person, because it wasn't in your face accessible. You would have, what was that? Soldier of Ford, that magazine.
Yeah, Soldier. Oh God.
Yeah. But that was like the start of it. Where
you had all the, remember the Army surplus stores? Those were so cool because they had all the
Ed surplus.
Yeah.
Rest
But
in peace.
like those were the places you went. And now when you scroll online or Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube, here's the gear you need. Here's the chest rig, And now when all this stuff is in your face, I think people are a little bit more obsessed with looking at it than actually doing the things that might be applicable for that article of clothing, that
Yeah,
piece of gear.
It probably is just a segment of like consumerism. Like
It is.
Yeah.
they see
people do
the
the same thing with
yeah.
with hunting gear. People do the same thing with
Yeah.
fishing gear. I mean, everybody gets caught up in these things that they enjoy and they want to do.
They want to emulate. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like
You hit on the episode you guys did when I was gone, where Jordan was talking about how he'll like buy something and then go home and watch another review about it.
Yeah.
Like that is consumerism. That is what we're talking about. Like guys get on Instagram, they see, like a ranger overseas wearing his plate hanger and his nice rifle with the suppressor on it, and they're like, I'm getting a plate hanger and I'm buying a suppressor for my rifle. Mm-hmm. And you go, why?
Yeah.
And they look at you and they're like, what? Like, why? What are you going to do with a plate hanger and a suppressor? And they're like, well, because you need a suppressor when you're fighting. And like, do you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because on Instagram and I saw a suppressor on, okay, explain the why though, and they can't. And so they're just sort of looking at all this shit online. They're like, well, this is what Delta Force operators were wearing in Iraq. And you can say, okay, well, how does that apply to civil unrest here in the United States? Because on a JSOC target in Iraq, you have all these concentric rings of support. So you can carry like a little tiny plate hanger with 3 magazines and a small med kit because you have backup 100 yards behind you.
Yeah.
If you're fighting out here in the mountains, why are you wearing a plate hanger with 3 magazines and a tiny little med kit and a fanny pack for sustainment?
And take that fucking schmog off your head or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Nobody,
Hey, I got one.
Nobody believes you're a local.
I like by.
Yeah. And then the truth is that nobody wants to sort of, or it's not that they don't want to, it's just that through lack of experience, folks who haven't experienced combat don't understand that you sort of have to look at your situation and what your purpose would be, and then what kind of scenario are you training for? And so I was kind of thinking about curriculum, especially for the shooting courses, and what the standard that I want to set for each class to be. And again, because people spend so much time on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, they all have this idea that when they go out to a shooting class, they're going to go learn to be Delta operators. And it's like, well, no, you're not, because that's a lifestyle. And if you want to be an Army Ranger, that's a life that you have to commit to. So you can't just come out on the weekends and learn to do that. But developing sort of a standard of like a concerned citizen who actually takes the time to put in the diligence and the work, what does that standard look like? Because that's also, you can train that to a pretty high standard. And so that's where I'm going to be going with the rifle and pistol classes is no false, and I never have tried to give people false ideas of like, hey, you can come out for a 3-hour class and become an expert pistol shot or expert with a carbine. But what a realistic standard looks like, as far as what I just described, and that's kind of what I want to set going forward, and that is also part of, again, just looking at the 2A community and how toxic it is.
What's a 2A community?
Second Amendment.
Oh,
like all the Punisher skulls in the back window, or like.
Yeah,
you put a sticker of an
shows how much I know about this.
Yeah. You put like you see people have like a sticker of an M4 in their back window, and it's like, what does that do? Is that, to me, that's like you're afraid of something and you're trying to intimidate people. It's like a butterfly with loud colors. Like I put my Punisher skull in my back windshield so that people know I'm tough, and then they leave me alone.
Yeah, but if someone has a bunch of gun stickers in the back of their car, you're probably less likely to cut them off.
I don't cut people off either way.
I know. I'm just saying maybe other people. I don't cut people off either.
It's like, yeah.
I literally
that guy's flying a flag though, right? That guy's flying a little bit of a flag. I like this word 2A.
Yeah, you haven't.
I've never heard it.
Really?
I'm too busy. I'm reading about time,
You
boys.
put stickers on for a living.
True. Good counterpoint. But I've never put a 2A on. I've never heard that before. That's funny.
Well, it's just it's very true, and I mean, I think with that comes like, hey, it's like I used to justify any gun purchase for hunting. So if it didn't have an application for hunting, I wasn't buying it.
Yeah.
And that
Wait,
was like
when you first got into hunting?
well, no,
right after he came out.
yeah, up until
6.
I was like 9. Hey.
God, he's got good spirit fingers for a wrestler. Look at those jazz hands.
It's all in the footwork.
Yeah.
But that's how I would justify like buying guns, right? And I was just like, it's fucking stupid to have guns because I didn't want to feel like I was like a.
So you thought pistols were bad?
Oh, you didn't
No,
want
I
to feel like
carried
you
a
were
pistol.
like one of the.
I carried a pistol because I carried it for hunting, and I also carried it for like protection, right?
Yeah.
I was one of those guys who, like, I've said it many times, like.
So were you
I carried
against
for
ARs
almost a
then?
I wasn't against any of it. I just didn't want to be like a guy who was like, oh, I got this gun, but I don't know how to use it, but I'm down. I could fucking fuck people up. But I was doing the same thing with a pistol, right? Like I carried around a pistol with no training.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was
same.
like, and then I realized, like, when I took your classes where it was like, oh, I knew how to grip. I knew a couple things I'd been taught here and there, but at no point in time should I have ever like thought, oh, you're set. Like you're good enough to carry a pistol and make a sound decision and control that bullet. Like,
Yeah, but there. I
Well,
mean,
hang on. Let me cut in because I'm glad you brought all this up because the second part. So the first thing I want to focus on is a realistic standard for what a trained citizen looks like. The second part is
which is interesting to me. That to me gets me excited because that goes, okay, like I could get behind that and I can learn and understand where I am from. I wasn't in the military, right? So I don't have any idea as to what that looks like, though I think that everybody should have an AR. I think everybody should get trained and know how to use it. And
now hang on, you're saying all the right things, and that goes into the second part, which is responsibility, and combined with what I'm going to call like a culture of excellence. So one of the things I really like about jiu-jitsu and martial arts is that it has sort of this overarching theme of excellence, which doesn't just end at the beginning and end of practice. It
goes forever.
It extends into your life. Excuse me. And so the 2A community definitely does not have that. There is no sort of theme or standard of excellence there. And I think it would be really beneficial. And maybe it won't be into the 2A community. Maybe there will be a whole new sort of genre that evolves of people who believe like, yes, you should be allowed to own a firearm. But if you're going to consider yourself a protector, if you're going to carry publicly or, I guess if you're going to carry in public, because there's also other, there's people who own guns strictly for sport shooting. That's all they'll ever do. Yeah. Great. Wonderful. People who own them for hunting, all they'll ever do with them. Great. Wonderful. But if you're someone who fancies yourself a protector and you're carrying like EDC style in public, now you need to take on the responsibility of that attitude of excellence. And you need to get yourself trained, fit, centered, so that if and when you do encounter some sort of whatever active shooter or whatever situation you find yourself in, if you do have to use your firearm to protect your community, then you actually have the ability to affect that situation because you followed this sort of pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
You look at like shootings that have happened and like that one kid was it Texas that like made this, now there's
dropped him from like 40 yards.
Yeah, there's a drill for him now that people run.
Was that at the mall?
Yeah.
The one in the mall? That was like 60 yards, I thought. It
40,
was like
40,
almost,
which
I
still,
thought it was further. It was
40
ridiculous.
yards with a pistol.
Yeah.
What was that
under
kid's
adverse conditions, because his heart rate's
Oh,
going
you're in
through
a
the
mall.
roof.
You're
there's
outside
people running,
Abercrombie
yelling.
and there's an active shooter.
It smells like Cinnabon.
Yeah. Cinnabon and fucking gunpowder.
I'd eat that.
I took cover in the Yankee Candle Company, popped up, return fire.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I took cover in the anti-ans. But anyway, so there's that, and then that kid obviously knew what he was doing and how to shoot. And then there was another shooter, I think, at one point in the Oregon Mall, And there's like an account of a guy who was carrying, and he just stood there, and he was like, or he didn't stand there. He found cover, and he just
hid.
And he had his pistol, and he goes, "Oh my God, like, is this really happening?" And then he never shot.
And so that's the part where you need to find your spiritual center, because there's a moment where if you think to yourself, hey, I carry this gun because I'm going to go take that guy out, in order to take that guy out, you're going to have to expose yourself at least a little bit. Yeah. So are you going to be willing to expose yourself to possible death in order to have a positive effect on the situation? And if your spirit isn't centered, at that moment where you have to make that decision, you will decide to duck down and hide.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this isn't nearly the same, but in hunting, you get in enough situations where you're very close to animals, and you're like in a position where it's like, I can either just stay ducked here and let it walk out in front of me or something happen, or I have a feeling and I can push us a little bit, and you peek over. You have the risk of being seen and spooking something, or you have the risk of being advantageous. And when it goes wrong, you question it and think about it forever. And when it goes right, it goes right. But I think that's something that's kind of close to that situation, is putting yourself in kind of high consequences where your death is kind of on the table. That's what you're doing. It's not the same as a person, but you're putting yourself in kind of high tense situations, and you have to understand kind of your gut feeling and what you think is the right choice and execute it. I mean, and you can be scared, like, I don't know, you're in the dark sometimes in the woods, and it's like, oh, maybe you'll just stay down. But also it's like, no, go into it a little bit and look in, because that's how you're going to dictate. There are times to cover and hide, but there's also times to move. Yeah. And I think that you hit that well on an interesting way. It's like, I've never heard about safety or proficiency talked about in a way where it's like you hone your spirit and your craft. Like, I've done martial arts forever, and I've never really thought about why I do it. I just know there's something that I love about doing it. What got me into it was like when I was in 8th grade, I got the Bruce Lee book, Tao of Hikundo, and just the amount of philosophy that was in it, and I really liked it. And then the Art of War I thought was interesting with Sun Tzu's philosophy, and like there is really a culture of protector and warrior and fighter. And I find myself as I get older, like putting myself in these situations, like with the hunting and the training and the martial arts. And it's like, that is the true kind of protector thing. Getting a gun and doing some courses is nice. And it makes you maybe a little bit more proficient with that tool we were talking about earlier. But that thing you're honing and you're crafting, that spirit, is something. That's the X factor in a situation that lets you survive or lets you die, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm just kind of realizing
I'm taking it.
More of what the course is and what all this stuff is, pulling it together. It's like we're trying to craft a human, not like a clone of, like, make a bunch of people just like this, but it's like, if you want to be what you guys call sheepdog, what was it? Second S2, C2. What were they called? Second Amendment. Second Amendment.
2A.
2A.
Jesus, Mike.
Second Amendment. I forgot what you're calling them.
Slap him.
Yeah.
From across the table.
But it's interesting. It's a weird thing to think about, like what makes a true, and I mean, the military has to think about this. That's your program.
No, they don't. No. Here's the problem with the military, is they don't focus on the spiritual part at all. They only focus on the technical equipment operator. And that's why they end up with a bunch of
people
mentally broken alcoholics at the end of 20 years, is because they don't pay attention to the spirit at all. And again, that's been one of the lessons from the jiu-jitsu mats, is something to do. It must be the interpersonal connections you make when you roll with people, but jiu-jitsu is very much good for the warrior spirit. Like, it builds the warrior spirit in a way that nothing else I've ever experienced does. And so it's not about even progressing or winning and losing. It's just about getting out on the mats and trying.
Yeah.
And because it's hard and because it hurts. And some days it's like really frustrating, you know what I mean? But then there's other days where you go home feeling like you're on top of the world. And that's that building of that warrior spirit that's willing to get in there and fight and lose and fight and lose and fight and lose until you fight and win.
Well, it's a series of battles.
Yeah.
The ups and downs, just like the hunting and dealing with the consequences. Like, do I peek my head over and see if there's an animal, or do I go for this arm bar? Maybe I get it, maybe I don't.
Yeah,
it's that same thing, but it's a series
reward.
of mini battles, and you have to be confident when it's like, yeah, if it happens, it happens. I lose, I lost. But I rather try than to be a coward or just to sit and wait.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. I'd rather go and get beat up than not go at all.
Yeah. And being okay with that.
Yep. And how do we get onto spirit? I feel like we went on a tangent here, but
Yeah, but what you're crafting, what you want.
Well,
like,
I mean, as far as what you want to do with Training Northwest and moving forward and creating what'd you call it? The excellence, the culture of excellence.
The culture of excellence.
That to me, having not been in the military again, there's that FOMO, right? I have of it, and the feeling of like, well, if I get a gun and I run around and do this, if I just have it and I get a chest rig and all this other stuff, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, are you like a wannabe military guy? And then it's like, I'm thinking about it. It's like, no, you know what? Fuck that. Because I want to be proficient with this thing that I have.
Yeah.
And these are just the tools in which you implement it. So yeah, I look like I'm putting on all this stuff. Like I want to be a big fucking soldier and all that. And it's like, no, I just want to have this gun and have a skill set to know how to use it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have to come to terms with that, because like, I don't like the thought of like, oh, I'm fucking LARPing. I make those jokes all the time. Like, oh, we're LARPing. We're out here LARPing. And it's like, we're not. This isn't the military. And I make no fucking, mistake about that. But there is something that, like you said, that I want to have a skill set and be allowed to and go after that, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have, like, if you're going to build a protocol to be able to say, hey, this is what you're not going to be an operator, but this is what you can be as a civilian. And
that's also highly effective.
Yes. And this is what you could, you know, we're getting you to a point of being able to fight.
And part of that thought just came today while you and I were shooting, just because I was shooting pretty fast with my rifle. And it dawned on me that, like, normally, like, that's all good at finding good on the flat range, where like ping, 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 just pinging steel. But when you're fighting out in the woods or in the mountains, that super fast snap shooting actually is not at all what you're doing. You're moving from position to position, like supported position. And it's a much slower, more drawn out game.
Methodical.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the majority of what again, everybody is sort of enamored by this idea of like, they're going to go be a hostage rescue expert during like the zombie apocalypse. Like, no, you're fucking not. Like, you're just not. And in no time,
zombies are going to get you.
Yeah. Or you know what I mean? Let's say like Puget Sound has its massive earthquake. You're not going to be out rescuing hostages, jumping off a little bird in your plate carrier with your shorty AR.
You're going for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What you're probably going to be doing is holing up at your house and just making sure that nobody comes into your neighborhood looking to loot.
Wow.
And that is the mission profile you should be training yourself to.
Yeah.
God dang it, I lost my train of thought.
I mean, well, having that said, like, that's why I feel like trying to create a mission in your head of like, what possible scenario could come up, and how can I be trained for each one of those, whether it be like, you know, some crazy thing happens when I'm at work and I have to get home. Something happens when I'm at home and I have to find my group of guys. I got to find clean water. I got to find food. Like, whatever scenario may be where people are kind of in a, I mean, I think we all have the same, you know, Katrina level of issue happening, you know, in Washington, whatever that looks like. could be a fucking scary situation. And I know that at that point, the only insurance you have is your capabilities.
Yeah.
And that's it. So being prepared to use the firearms you have in a manner, like how many people walk into jiu-jitsu and think, I'm going to fuck this. I'm going to absolutely fuck these guys up. And then they just get completely got. Right? It happens a lot. It happens
every day I walk in the gym. I'm like, I'm going to fuck everyone up. And then it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
But I mean, you know, untrained people walking into the gym thinking it's a joke. You know,
Yeah.
I could think of 4 people right off the top of my head that had a rude awakening.
10, 20,
you know?
30.
That's,
yeah.
oh man.
And that's just kind of,
But that's
it's what it is. That being said, if you don't go and get trained on these guns and risk the feeling like people are judging you for either A, shooting, or B, LARPing and, you know, being a wannabe, it's like, well, I'm learning how to use this professionally for said scenario that may happen.
Yeah.
Everybody has insurance. Everybody is forced by the government to fucking have insurance. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just insurance of ability.
Yeah. The other funny thing is if you think about like your senators and congressmen, they'll have security details that surround them to protect them. It's like, why wouldn't everyday citizens have a little bit of a measure of protection?
Yeah. That's what just training is fun.
Oh, I mean, it's a blast. It's a blast.
Did you ever
hang on? Not everybody out there in podcast America has a best friend who owns a range.
Yeah, but I don't mean just shooting training. I mean like training of everything. Like whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's someone showing you how to can foods. Yeah. Did you ever read that book, Disaster Diaries by Sam Sheridan?
It's awesome.
Right? And what was that whole book? It was just training. He did powerlifting. He did professional driving. He did shooting. He did
just fun shit.
Yeah.
So he basically, the book's about him doing all these things to be prepared for a scenario that could happen.
Yeah.
So he's getting strong. He's working on his body. He's working on all
powerlifting with crazy powerlifters and learning how to clean and jerk to like it, just training your body. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to be?
And then driving and doing like an aggressive driving school and like
driving courses are freaking fun.
I think you go to a stunt school.
Stunt guy?
Stunt?
Yeah. You learn to do 360s and drive out of them, high speed drifting, all this stuff. But it's like, pretty cool. But that goes back to what you guys were saying earlier. It's like, there shouldn't be any FOMO. Yeah, you're never going to be an Army Ranger unless you're going to be an Army Ranger. You're not going to be a professional driver unless you're going to be a professional driver. But practicing and doing these things is fun, though. I give you credit. Like, yeah, you might get that suppressor and that plate carrier, but it's not doing you any good hanging in the closet. If you get that, now you have a responsibility to train. That's the fun part. Yeah. Go get an expensive car and rent track time and a professional driver to teach you.
Yeah.
Like all of these things build skill set and they add to the richness of your life.
100%.
Like if you have it and you don't do it, that's a waste of life. If you have it and you do it, that's an increase of life.
But that's kind of what I was saying last couple weeks ago or whatever about buying something. And then like, it's like, I have the time. Now I have the money to buy it, but not the time to use it. Right. So it's like, cool, I got this. But at some point you just got to get something and go, you know, that's like going camping way back in the day. It was just like, I had a shitty little tent and like, you know, just crappy gear, but I would go out and camp my ass off or go hike and go into the mountains and play around. And then now it's like, okay, I got all this nice gear, but I go way less than I want to, you know, so the time versus money and money versus time kind of deal. That being said,
but you still do it and you've tailored your gear. Like you're starting to learn though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now you're adding not only the knowledge and kind of the base of doing it, but that's a fun thing. I hit 40, right? And so now I've done things for quite a while, and I'm starting to kind of tailor them a little bit. The refinement process should be something that comes with time. Yeah, you're going to get into something and get all this gear and start to be a dork about it. But once you've done something for 10 years, your approach to it, your thought process of what you need is going to be refined due to hours logged. Maybe it's not as many as you want, but what counts is just hours logged and setting it up and working it and doing it every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's true. You do become. I'll say this. So when I was racing bikes really seriously, and I got really good, I got to where I knew exactly which tires I needed for what type of course and which shock I liked best, which fork I liked best, blah blah blah. And it got to where I just knew which gear was right, I guess is what I'm saying, which equipment was right. And there wasn't a whole lot of thought involved. It was like, no, I had like authority in that decision. Like, no, this is the best piece of equipment for this scenario. And that was sort of like reaching that level of both technical and like, it's mostly too. Technical expertise.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same is true of hunting, jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Any endeavor you're going on.
Self-defense, any of the cooking, canning.
Yeah.
Like all these things, I think it's just training, and training is reliance.
Yes.
So the more you can train a broad spectrum constantly throughout your life.
Yeah, totally. And all these things have some sort of application to like some sort of, community survival situation, right?
Yeah.
Or just supporting your community in a period of unrest, which, I mean, everybody can, you're not supposed to talk about it, but everybody can see what's going on in the United States. And the reason Training Northwest is gaining popularity, I'm sure, is that people feel it and they're thinking,
well,
hey, we need to go.
We do a podcast.
What are you guys talking about? The moment things just go back to normal, we stop. I feel like we're like, well, signing off. I don't have anything to talk about. Good night.
So fucking funny.
Jordan's over here on TikTok again.
I'm learning a dance move. No, I was ordering that flashlight because I needed. Speaking of gear,
were you fucking ordering a flashlight?
I literally just ordered that flashlight.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, guys.
See, but even though you think that's really bad, I do have admiration in. Like, I will go to you with questions if I'm going to get a new knife or a flashlight or something. Like, I'm 100%. Not going to. I'll look at stuff tent, a little bit, but like you sold me on the backpacks, that fucking Kufaru, and like I've watched so many review videos and everything. But it's like I did all that, but what I should have just done is that 30-second conversation when it's like, hey, what backpack do you have? And you go, Kufaru, it's the best one I've ever had. I've had a bunch and I do a lot of research and this is the best one ever. It's like, okay, probably should have just gone with
Sounds
that.
good.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's so funny you said that because I was talking to one of my coaches the other day, and we were talking about this night vision, and that came up, and it was like, I got a buddy who does all kinds of research on night vision, and it's like, you know what I need to do is just say, hey, when there's a good deal and I'm ready to pull the trigger, just tell me what I need to go do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to research it. I don't need to go down the rabbit hole of, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fun to occupy your time with the dream of having all this stuff. And that's, I think, part of the reason why we find people really kind of, or I do it all the time. I think it's part of the reason why I do it is because there's multiple kinds of fun you can have with this stuff. You get a daydream when you're buying it and like setting stuff up and think like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'll have this in case this happens. And then I'll have this in case that happens. And so you get to sit there and run through these scenarios in your head without them actually happening. Or actually having to go out and do the thing. Right. Yeah. And you can have the fun. And then when you actually get to go out and do it, you get to have that fun as well. So you can like double dip a little bit, you know, as opposed to just going like, well, fuck it. I'll pick up this bullshit and then I'll have it and I don't think about it and don't train with it. And it's there though. If I need it, it's there. And it's like, no, fuck that. Yeah. Have the fun.
When you first started getting into hunting and this kind of stuff, or maybe you've always done it, but for me, like first getting into it, the way I approached it and everything I thought I needed, like I brought the whole entire house with me. But not only that, like hunting, I had like a pistol on the side. I had the knife on the back of the belt loop, so it was like, parallel with the ground.
In case you ran out of ammo in a cougar encounter and you needed to go to your fixed blade.
Yeah, and it's like now I have a knife somewhere in my backpack if I need it, but it's like it doesn't really. I don't need all this stuff that I thought I once did.
Your skills carry a lot of weight.
Yes.
So
so you start dumping gear.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because your skills are that's the weight you're carrying is a skill set.
Yeah.
And it's the light.
Yeah.
So have it. I'd rather have a good skill set and a little bit of tool versus all the tools and no fucking skills.
But that once again, that's something that comes through with time. Like 1 year of hunting, it's like, oh, okay, this is what I carried. And God, it was kind of cumbersome. And then the second year, maybe you ditch a few things and then progressively follow that out to 10 years. And it's like your kit's established. You've eliminated the bullshit, but it's kind of a growth.
Just getting out and going and doing it. I think I don't think people typically do this, but they just go out and they go, oh, well, I wish I would have had this. So I'll get this later on. Like you go out and you have a gun and a knife and your tags.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You got something down. Now I got to cut this thing up. Okay, well, how the fuck am I going to get it out of here? Well, I'll just, get a stick and a buddy and I'll just carry it out. And, how they used to with a fucking stick and tie the legs around it and carry that fucker out. Like, that's okay. You can do that. You're not carrying any gear. And some would say that's a skill set you have to do. But then you go, okay, well, what's the next fucking progression of like, what would make this easier? Okay, well, obviously a backpack. I can put the knife in my backpack and then I can carry this. And like, oh, it was raining. It'd be really nice if I had a fucking tarp so I can sit there and glass for hours and not get soaked from, or it starts snowing and you're like sitting glassing and it's a nightmare. It's like, it'd be nice to have a tarp. Oh, well, if I do that, I'm going to need string to attach it to shit. Okay, so I got like paracord, and then, well, I need something to glass. I couldn't really see very far, so now I got fucking binos, and went and got binos, and then it's like, well, that's really.
So
sweet.
did you go the opposite? You started minimal and then started adding stuff to your kit.
No, I had all the bullshit you could ever.
You were like
want,
me.
Right?
You brought the house. Okay,
but I'm saying doing that would be the way to go. Would be like. Going opposite and like starting out and having nothing, and like every time you run into a scenario, it's add this, and I'm not spending a bunch of money on bullshit. I'm spending money as I fucking find myself in a serious situation, and then go, oh, my boots got soaked. I need good boots. Oh, I need fucking 2 pairs of wool socks would make sense because my shit got wet. And the best lessons are learned through hardship.
Yeah.
So unless you go through them, right? It's like you're not necessarily learning. You can learn that way. And
it's what they used to say in the fire department. Every time a new law is adopted is because someone died. Yeah. And that's how you learn, is through errors. Mm-hmm. And you're like, let's create a law so that doesn't happen.
Now, obviously, I'm not saying go out and die.
No, but through hardship and a problem, death of your experience of this trip.
I have 2 boots now because I bring 2 sets of boots when I go to certain places because I've gone out and the boots got completely soaked and they don't get dry. And you're in wet boots for 2 weeks and it's like, this fucking sucks. So now I have two pairs of boots and I have a boot dryer. I just like, fuck it. Like, I know I would rather have something like that back at my car where I can dry out a set of boots if I need, because there was nothing more miserable than
2 weeks on the peninsula is awful.
Yeah. And just being fucked.
Wet feet.
Wet feet. And then everything is soaked. So then it's like, you start to like, kind of, like you said, you learn little things here and there, and it progressively gets you better. I can go and do that for real hunting. I can go do that for real hiking. I can't go and do that for real shooting somebody. So
it's not, honestly, hunting is great training for military style patrolling.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, as soon as when we went, that was the first thing you said. Like at the end of the first day, you were like, "Dude, this is just like patrolling."
Yeah. I mean, it's more relaxed because we're not.
Yeah, we're not getting shot at.
Yeah,
We're trying to do
We'll
the
stop and talk to
Yeah.
each other and make coffee and hot chocolate and stuff.
Fucking
but
take naps.
if it would exactly lots of naps, and it would be so easy to do a group hunt organized as a like reconnaissance patrol because
And I
that's
bet it'd be
grids.
fucking successful too.
Yeah.
well, especially because if you used ham radios and got out your maps ahead of time, did your proper planning procedures ahead of time with a map reconnaissance, then you could sort of figure out most of your hunting positions, or at least to cover the most area, just based on topography, and you could set in an entire team, communicate via radio, and then you'd own like an entire valley basically, which is exactly what you do if you wanted to like recon or do a movement to contact through valleys. You attempt to own all the sort of primary positions in the valley.
Yeah.
Why not do that on a deer hunt?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be kind of
that. What's a minimal amount of people for a group, like a team? Is it 10, 12 people?
Well, so a fire team is 4, but it would be pretty rare. Well, okay, hang on. So
yeah, but to take
Rangers rarely do anything smaller than a platoon, which is 40 people, 4 squads.
okay.
But
And then
like,
how is that broken up, those 40 people?
4 squads. With
Okay,
and
so
then
10.
you have like a headquarters, like medic, RTO, sniper attachments, mortar attachments, blah 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 blah. So,
Yeah.
But 4 squads, and then each squad is 2 4-man teams with the squad leader, so 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So the platoon's probably closer to 50.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
9 times 4.
We're gonna need
36
more deer.
plus- yeah.
yeah.
But
but you can break that down and like divide it in half or divide it.
You're
know.
talking for hunting.
Yeah.
You could do it with as few as like 6 people. You could do it with 4. It's
trying to think
the space you can cover is small.
But to like kind of go off of that, you want an overlook group like sniper, someone watching maybe a valley that you're working. You want people walking and pushing through, right? And how else would you devise it?
Well, so off the side of the valley, you're probably going to have draws and ridge lines coming down into it. So you're going to want to own each one of those ridge lines, whether you occupy every third or again, you're restricted on the number of people you have.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to kind of dial. I like this theory. You've talked about it before.
Yeah. So the first thing you'd have to do is decide where you're going, look at the topography, then look at the number of people available, and then you can start picking sort of your most your optimal sort of observation points, and that's where you just order of priority, and that's where you start putting people and keeping communication through radio.
So establish an eye in the sky and move from there is kind of the idea first. That's why I always say get high, stay high. Like when you're talking about patrolling.
That's literally walking. Like never go down into low ground because that's where water sits. So that's where vegetation.
But also
goes
that
thick.
gives you a good advantage point anywhere you're going.
Sure.
If you're constantly coming in from above, it's easier to look down. Plus you have better firing position. You don't want to be fired from above.
Totally.
It's a weird thing. I've never heard anyone really talk about hunting and military aspects, like how they're so closely, like you feel it, but I've never heard anyone actually vocalize. It's like, hey man, do you want to go wipe out a valley of deer? Because I can give you the know-how to do it.
There's a whole village of sympathizers down there.
The Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Let's go get 'em.
Yeah. Oh shit, dude, that's funny.
Oh goddamn. Yeah, no, I think that hunting has a lot of very close parallels, especially if you treat it the right way. If you're just out there drinking beer and fucking driving around on the logging roads, then no, there's no parallel. No. But if you do it the correct, like if you do it in a way that is intended to have some parallels, it's so easy to create a training evolution out of a deer hunt.
Yeah. I would like to go back to that place we went in the summer with fishing poles.
Yeah. Well, and do some
go.
scouting. It would be awesome.
should have gone to the other mountain. All the deer were killed on that mountain. I don't know why I took you there. They're like, it's on fire. Get up here. I'm like, we got to go. It's like, I didn't stop to think about it. It's like, are there any deer left?
Yeah, that's all right. It's still fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. That was a long drive for a couple hours.
Ooh, yeah, Jordan.
I can't believe you fucking can't. I wouldn't have come out for one day.
One day.
You're a better man than us.
I wanted it was important to me to see how it all went, and I wanted to see Nathan doing this for it was a cool experience for everybody to be out there. So I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
So it was worth one night, a lot of driving. Fuck it,
Fuck yeah.
Better man than me.
I mean, now I gained a spot kind of, and I know that area better.
Yeah.
So
That's a nice little.
yeah.
That's the thing.
I like that area a lot. And that's close to where I grew up.
Okay. Yeah. I've learned. I mean, I don't want to start giving out hunting pointers here, but
Do it.
trails are really, really nice. Like a lot of times you just go out to hunting areas and you're like, oh, these are where the Forest Service roads are. And it takes you out into kind of where they logged, and then it's just woods. But when you go places that have a trail system that's like, oh, this is a 25-mile loop to a fire tower, but it's like, oh, I'd rather walk this trail for, than,
Yeah.
Bushwhack.
yeah, forever.
We fucking ended up bushwhacking through that shit.
In elk? Yeah.
Oh, that was
At
fun.
night, that was a little bit
Oh, it was-
rough.
Yeah, pitch black. Can't see a goddamn thing. And
But how cool is it to get out there to that spot? It's like it's totally worth bushwhacking.
oh
at
yeah,
night,
yeah.
it's
But I
like-
mean, we did. The thing is, we took a trail in, couldn't find it.
we got so lost.
It was like we're like, that's the right direction. Let's just walk that way.
Oh man.
Fucking headlamp, just
Sweaty,
Smashing.
Oh, dude.
sweaty and dark,
I've
dude.
been-
Trying
do you know
lost.
how many nights I've spent like that?
Yeah.
Oh goddamn.
up and down trees. It's like, I'm pretty sure we just went a fucking circle, dude. Just walk straight.
God
We'll
damn
find
it.
a road. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But just like I got a little bit of video from it, and yeah, it was just fucking. I almost
The pictures
fell.
are awesome.
Oh, that was an awesome trip. That was a great spot.
That's
That's a beautiful
that's
spot.
my honey hole.
If anything, that is a good spot for
If I could get a bull tag.
photography.
Oh yeah. Well, also get a
if
bull tag
a
there.
bull tag there, you'd be fucking on
Yeah,
fire.
that's money.
It'd be great. We saw
Which is-
fucking
yeah.
good looking bull, and it was like the
Golden.
color of a lion.
Yeah.
It was like holy shit, and just sitting up there, and like we're looking through these trees. We get to the top of this ridge, and we'd been hiking and on this trail, and all of a sudden look over, and it's like, oh fuck, there's a fucking elk. And it's like, we don't know if we have a cow tag, or is it antler? Was it antler or spike only? I'm sorry, spike only. And don't know if there's a spike. And all of a sudden, you just, you know, when you see an animal and you can't quite tell,
Doesn't
if it's
register in your
it's
brain.
like, is that an animal or is that a fucking rock?
Oh yeah.
But it's like that's a big, crazy looking rock.
And it moves.
And then it just fucking stood up. And I mean, the bottom of the antlers on that thing were baseball bats.
Jesus.
It was just like, that's a big fucking elk right there. It stood up and then just ripped down the trail.
Goodbye.
It's like, holy shit. And there was two up there, and then one ran off, and then we started off to get that one. And then, but that turned you on. All of a sudden, your heart's pounding. You're like, fuck yeah.
Back in the game.
Fuck yeah. Because, I mean, that's all it takes to just all of a sudden, now you're in it. And
Yep.
you're like, fuck, this is it. Because it can get boring. And it's like, okay, fucking tedious. Like, we're never going to find anything. And then, you're saying negative shit in your head, and then something like that happens, and you're like, holy fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
Fuck, are you kidding me? That whole way, as soon as we got into that bowl, that
Dude, they were
valley,
firing off all over the fucking place. That was,
dude.
I'm not saying that at the whole time I was like, we're going to fucking see something right now. Like, this is wild. The whole time we were going up this thing. Oh yeah.
Dude.
Calling to them, and they're firing off. And then because they're firing off, like, you call, one answers, and then one answers that one, and then
Yep.
one answers that one, and it's
Yeah.
like all the way up this thing, and it's
They're
like
all
holy
around
shit,
us.
this is awesome. But the ones we got up to, they were just sitting there, and they saw us coming, and we just fucking walked up, do 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 do, and then all of a sudden it just shit. Like, oh fuck, how rad. And then a little bit like, what was it, fucking not another 50 yards to 100 yards up, we found this little
That wallow.
wallow there,
Yeah.
and like an opening in like the field, like, or it's trees, thick trees, and all of a sudden it's like a grassy little field with a wallow in the middle of it, and like
Picturesque.
it
Beautiful.
was just amazing. And then flies all over, apparently.
Bees.
Bees,
not
that's what it
flies.
was. It was bees. We got one to answer,
Yeah.
so I drop it back across the this little field. Mike is like in the middle of the field, down behind this little tree thing, and our other hunting buddy is on the left hand side, and he's kind of just posted up over there.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back, and I'm calling, trying to get it to come out into this little field so they can both take a shot on this fucking thing. And I look at Mike, and he's like tucked down behind this thing, and then all of a sudden I see his hand like swap across his face. And then as we're sitting there, pretty soon his hat's off, I think, and he's like using his hat to like fucking swat at shit. And I was just like, oh, he must be like have some like skeeters around him. And then later he's like, I think I sat in a bee's nest. Like, there was fucking bees everywhere. But we got that bull coming. He came right up to the edge of the field,
Did he?
but he didn't want to walk in.
Yeah.
I have a problem with bees hunting. I have been stung multiple times hunting specifically by bees. That's the only time I get hit. One time I got it right in the lip. I came home. Dude, I think I got a picture on my phone. I'll show you. It looked like someone should have hit me with an EpiPen. I was up there. And then another time I was doing archery elk and I got my wrist release on, right? I got to go take a crap. So I go behind a log and I start digging. Instantly, I dug right into a bee hornet nest. Dude, bunch of them stung my hand, And it's like, fuck. Ran away. I'm not allergic to bees, but my hand swelled up like 2 or 3 times as big. And so I got my wrist release on,
Yeah.
like not like it's going to cut me off, but I'm supposed to shoot an animal. And I got elephantitis in my shooter hand with the wrist release.
Finger can barely bend.
Dude, they look like balloons. They were probably weeping with water. And it's like, I'm really going to kill something. Good luck with that.
Yeah. You can become allergic to bees, though. Like,
I thought hard enough. I go, don't become allergic. And I stayed away, dude.
okay, well.
Mind over matter.
Manifestation.
Yeah.
I told
Quantum physics.
I think there's something to that. I truly do.
I do.
I truly do. But no, some people they'll become allergic after they get stung.
I think your immune system can go down or gene
Changes.
expression can go on or off and you can develop allergies to things. Yeah. But then you can also inoculate your self. Like people, they say that
get
are allergic to
bullshit. This fucking guy.
I'm immune to pregnancy.
Yeah.
People that are allergic to cats and you forced to live with cats for a year or two, and a lot of people get over the allergies of it. It kicks your immune system in and it develops antibodies or immunity to it.
Yeah. No, I mean, kids who grow up on farms have fewer allergies.
Yeah.
Because they're just around all the dander and bacteria and feces. And,
Well, that's that germ theory idea of exposure theory.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been demonstrated.
Yeah, it's not.
I think it's
ain't a theory.
Yeah. But I
That's
mean,
the way it is.
then
I think even
but you get to
kids,
a point where
kids-
like,
I think they've one real quick point. I think they have also shown that kids who grow up in a house without a dishwasher have better immune systems because the dishwasher sanitizes all the plates and cups, whereas if you're hand washing them, you leave little trace amounts of bacteria on everything, and so your immune
Eat it
system
and
grows
get
a lot
better.
stronger. Yeah.
don't even do the dishes if
Yeah,
you want to get
exactly.
stronger.
Yeah. Don't be
say.
a pussy, Jordan.
Yeah.
Don't clean those dishes.
Kids who only live with their dad do better.
Yeah, I rinsed it in hot water. It's good.
Do you remember your first sink, like in an apartment or when you moved out and you lived on your own?
Yeah.
Your first sink doing oh my God, dude.
What?
First sink and first fridge were like, we should have donated them to the local high school for dissection, like cut it apart, look under the microscope, find something new.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I actually had one until I was like in my mid-20s, just because I went from high school to college, like freshman year. So I had a cafeteria thing, and then into the Army. And so more cafeterias.
Where'd you go to college first?
PLU.
Pacific Lutheran University?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right off of Capitol Hill by SU, Seattle University.
No. Down in Tacoma.
Oh.
Like in...
they got a branch up on Capitol
Parkland,
Hill, though, right?
Parkland. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. There's PLU up there as well.
Are you
Is there really?
just
No.
thinking
Because my buddy went to SU, Seattle University up there, and PLU, they had a campus up there as well.
Okay. I don't know.
Interesting. You went to Tacoma, huh? Is that because you're military already, or you?
No, I wanted to play football, and it was a little Division III school, and so I could make the team there.
What was your position?
Free safety in high school, and then they put me at corner there.
Okay.
Not that I ever set foot on the field.
I was corner of the bench.
Yeah, exactly. I held a water bottle.
Corner is good, though, man.
Yeah.
You're tall and fast, and probably can reach up high and grab a ball.
Yep. And then I joined the Army after that first year there. So again, cafeterias. And then it wasn't until I got out of the Army that I had my first house. But by then I had all my clean habits from, you learn how to clean shit really fast in the Army. So it was no problem to like whip out a few dishes.
Yeah. Whip out a few dishes.
Well,
Didn't hear that in my 20s.
When I was in college, me and my roommate like had a deal. It was like, we will have a clean fucking place, period. We're not dicking around. And it was so clean that some girls came over and they were like,
"You're gay."
Uncomfortable. Yeah, they were like, this is weird.
Can someone throw some underwear on the floor?
Yeah, this is yeah, we did.
Don't brag.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember my first place bringing girls home to an air mattress. But
I've done that too.
yeah. I had the kind with the pump built into it.
It's not one of those cheap ones you have to pump with a foot pump.
Yeah. Dude,
Hold on, sweetie.
Get woken up by your date at like 3 a.m. She's like, "Hey, we're on the ground." I'm like,
floor.
"Don't sweat it." I'm like, go back to bed.
What's your sleep number?
PIMP. Yeah. What's your sleep number?
Those mattresses to this day are the best. Like I love those things. Those blow up mattresses. I sleep so good on them.
You know why? Because I slept on one down at Dave's at Thanksgiving. Is I think because they're full of air, they stay cool. It's not like your mattress gets hot and then you get warm and you start sweating a little bit. But that blow up mattress stays cold all night long, so it keeps you cold, and then you don't wake up. That's my personal theory.
Because I use that when I go hunting.
Yeah.
Like I got one of those double decker ones with the air built into it, and it fits perfect in my trailer.
Oh,
so like that little fucking black
cargo trailers are awesome for hunting.
No, that cargo trailer's
permanent arrangements.
No, that cargo trailer's legit, dude. That thing, like, because what I'll do is I'll have that mattress. It fits perfect. Blow it up. In the morning, I wake up. I just pick it up and kind of lean it over to the side.
Yeah.
Take my sleeping bag and all that stuff, and I put it on the shelf. And all my stuff's there. I stand up, get ready. I'm dry. Everything's great. And I'm good to go.
I'm excited for elk this year, dude.
So am I.
I want to.
Are we going on the peninsula?
Well,
Hey,
yeah.
of Michigan.
Yeah, there we go. The upper peninsula.
Hoopers.
Well, I thought we were going to go do the Montana hunt.
Oh, that's that deer one.
Yeah. Are we still doing that? Is that
Yeah, but
on
we
the
could
table?
do muzzle loader.
But that's what
and
I'm
still.
saying. We'll do what we do.
We do.
But as far as
I would
is
still
that on
like.
the table?
Yeah, it's still on the
Because
table.
I'd like to do that.
They go to Montana for a doe hunt only, right? And I think your first tag's $60 or $80, and then each tag after that is $40, and you can get up to 12 because this place is just overrun with them.
How
and so they
fucking
just
fun.
they go for headshots because they don't want to waste meat, but they're like, dude, we come home and it's
This is
right on
muzzle
the
loader or
no rifle.
Okay.
And they just stay on the river, and they have horses. And just a little hunt.
And they get like 10 each.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Dude.
All right.
That's a trip. That would be a fun trip.
That's a lot of pepperoni.
Yeah. I just talked to a buddy, and he was telling me, he was like, I go hunt this island, and this island these elk swam out to, and they stay out there.
Oh,
They don't come back. So you hunt on the island, and you can basically just chase them around and corner them. And
are they small?
there you go. I
Do
don't
they
think
get dwarfism?
I don't know.
Because that's a thing of island animals.
I don't think they do, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And he was like, the tide goes out, and we'll run down and pick up clams and fucking all the different shellfish.
Yeah.
And then they'll go fish. And he was like, I eat better on that trip than I do fucking a normal week at home.
That sounds awesome.
So they're fishing, they're getting clams, they're getting crabs, they're boiling it. They're fucking, so they just like have a feast.
Yeah.
Like, that's the life, man.
You know, most woolly mammoths like went extinct like 10,000, 12,000 years ago. But
aren't they trying to bring them back?
yeah, I'm for that. But the last woolly mammoth to die was actually like, God, I want to say it was like 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, and it was on Alaska, and it might have been Wrangel Island. But because when animals are on islands, they get something called dwarfism. So if you get huge megafauna and they usually stay on an island, because the area and the proximity is small, they shrink. Like taking a goldfish from your tank and putting it into a lake, it grows.
Is that where we got anteaters from?
Carp.
Did they shrink?
That's what I'm saying. It's like a woolly mammoth that shrunk.
Oh, maybe. As they keep going down. But they made it to like 4,000 years ago in Wrangel Island, Alaska. But I don't know. That'd be cool to see a mini one. But if you had an elk that went to an island and they're just native to that spot, it'd be interesting to see like this animal that's normally
I know, like,
big.
the deer on the islands are fucking small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe.
Dude, you know what'd be cool to have as a pet? Like they have mini horses. I would so buy a mini elk. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be pretty cool.
Like the size of a mini horse, but you know, this
super
little
high pitch, little fuck.
With rutting, it fights your dogs.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that plays with the cat.
No.
Wrestle him when you have a few beers. Come here, you.
Yeah, that'd be a small elk. Just a little elk pissing all over everything. Just
Yeah.
you call it.
Remember when we found elk piss this last trip and we rub our boots in it?
Yeah.
And then I come home and I'm taking all my stuff into the garage. I'm like, oh, these boots still have the trace. But it's like, that's good, right? It blends us into the surrounding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a math teacher back in the day, Mr. Valenta, and he had one eye, but he was like a crazy avid hunter. He lost that eye fishing. He had a fish super close, and he was landing it, and he was pulling it.
Snapped it.
And the hook, or like it spit out the hook, and the hook went straight into his eyeball and just took it out. But he's like, I didn't let that stop me. And so he just kept on hunting and stuff, but he would just tell stories. He's like, yeah, you're elk hunting. He did archery elk, and he'd have a backpack. He's like, I'd find a wallow with elk piss, and I'll throw my backpack in it, and I'll roll it all over it. And I was like, at that age, I was like, dude, that's gross. But now as a hunter, I'm like, dude, that's gross. Don't do that. Walking it.
You guys want to take a break for a second?
Yeah.
P-brick.
World War III broke out, and we're fucking, in Lake Stevens, Granite Falls area, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what do we do? Who are on our team? Do we have a team, or is it everybody for themselves? Do we, like, at what point do you plan and prep that situation to be able to, like, and talk about it and, like, go, okay, who doesn't look at me like I'm fucking crazy when I say this, first of all?
Yeah, there's your first litmus test.
Yeah, and then go down the list of, like, not being taken advantage of and knowing people can actually, like, perform duties and are willing to when you need them to.
It's another reason I really like the gym is because I know that even a white belt who has been there 6 months has grit and has a little bit of fight in their heart. And that's one of the reasons why I really value the community. Like, we're lucky. We have a very strong community at that gym. And my answer to that question is if there were really some sort of like societal emergency, we would probably all start heading toward the gym.
Oh, that's
And if not,
Yeah.
and then that would be a waypoint on our way out to
a
where
rally
Training
point.
Northwest is. Yeah.
You mean the buzz-in, not training.
Oh yeah, we're gonna hit the buzz first.
Yeah. Can I get some corned beef hash as the apocalypse happens?
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to go.
That's
I'm
something.
busy.
Yeah. Put it in the to-go box.
That's something I do.
We're trekking.
We're trekking. Yeah, I'm rucking. To go, please. That's something I do think about is, like, say World War III does start, and maybe it is the worst war ever.
I think it has started.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it gets to the point where it gets nasty. Throughout any war I've ever read about or been interested in, it's not the soldiers' casualties that are the highest numbers. It's always the civilians.
Yeah.
And if you look at Ukraine, look at Gaza, look at all these things that are happening currently, it's still citizens. And so if it was a big war, you have to think that it's not going to change. Say a war was brought, World War III has to be the ultimate war because World War II ended in a nuclear era. So the fact that if there's another world war, like what's that famous quote? I don't know what World War
Oh,
Three.
World War III will be.
Yeah, I don't know
The
what
World War IV, the one after that, will be fought with sticks and stones.
right.
Yeah.
So if this is kind of the trajectory of technology,
Hang on,
in the,
hang on. We left that quote hanging. Because
Hard.
we're- Yeah,
Left that
Hang on.
fucking-
For anyone who hasn't heard that before, the quote is, it was some famous physicist, and he said, I don't know how World War III will be fought, but the one that follows that will be fought with sticks and stones, meaning he expected World War III to be a nuclear apocalypse.
decimation of everything in war on all fronts. No matter, you're not safe. Like it
Which sort of
is-
insinuates he does know how World War III will be fought.
Fucking liar.
Yeah, he's messing with us.
Yeah. Good quote, guy.
But I have to think if civilian casualties are a major aspect of every war of the past, it would have to currently follow the trajectory of World War III. And so if that happened, like the preparedness, the reliance, the self-efficiency, it's like, yes, that will get you a certain part and maybe you can survive through the beginning into the middle. But once there's been a collapse and now maybe the wars are settling down or it's getting over, how do you rebuild? Like in the rubble, people want to take advantage. There will still be more crime because there's not law and order.
You're saying
you
that-
defund the police and now you have crime and drugs and everything rampant. So if you get done with a World War III, every society, city, village is going to be in shambles. And so it's not only the skills you have, but it's the morals and the people you look around you to establish it.
Morality's a big
There
part of
is rebuilding. That's why carpetbaggers were big in the Civil War. I mean, rebuilding is something that has to happen, especially if the civilian population's killed. This is the thing that scares me thinking about a huge conflict is just the loss.
The
lo-
work after.
yeah.
Son of a
The
bitch. This is gonna
amount of
take forever to
chores.
clean up. So,
I'm a butcher / pharmacist all of a sudden. Yeah.
that does actually cross my mind when I read like World War II history and you see the pictures of Europe where it's just rubble
Yeah.
and bricks and shit everywhere. And the thought often crosses my mind that that must have been a goddamn motherfucker to pick up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How long must, or can you imagine the man hours to clean up all that shit?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have excavators,
No.
right? They couldn't just roll the excavator in and
Horses
start.
and buggies and shit.
World War II started to get towards that, though. I mean,
Oh,
if you have a
you-
tank,
you-
you,
yeah,
just
you-
put a blade on
yeah.
the front. And that's an excavator.
Still,
Yeah.
you got to do something with all those bricks. You can't
Yeah.
just push them off. to
And
the
most
side
of
the
Europe
road.
like that wasn't infrastructure. It was still horse and cart, depending on where you were. But yeah, civilian thing is a huge thing. I mean, everyone wants to be so rah-rah, you know, and be that guy with the plate carrier and the suppressor you're talking about, but that motherfucker is going to be the first guy to die more so than the Army Ranger that's strategically put into places for valuable assets.
Yeah.
Like civilian death is always the biggest thing. And it's like, wow, if we are pointing towards this thing, it's not going to be maybe China. It's not going to be, you know, your own government turning, you know, it's going to be like just surviving the people around you, civilian
or
loss.
even just a major depression. So look at the Great Depression, where people were having to get by with backyard gardens and, you know, a little bit of hunting and fishing here and there where they could. How many people know how to grow a backyard garden right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
what's that?
In the microphone, Jordan.
1 second after that book.
Yeah.
You-
God, that whole series. Let's give a shout out.
Yeah, it's a solid book. 1 second after, it's basically a nuke goes off and causes an EMP. They detonate a nuclear bomb above, you know, Earth, like a mile or two above the Earth, and it basically blacks out everything. And it's like all of a sudden the freeways, just all the cars stop, and then it builds off of that, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And it's about a town, like a little college town that like survives, and like how they survive, and like it ends up being like 20% of the population of the town survived. And at the very end of it, the military is starting to come in, and they're like, whoa, like,
Yeah, we got this all figured out.
what do you mean? Because they give them draft notices and shit, and they're like, what do you, like, if you take away these people, we literally will die.
Yeah.
You guys haven't been around for 2 years. But throughout the book, it kind of shows like how they get through those 2 years, and like medication disappears, and people starve to death, and people, you know, looters come, and like in the very, very beginning of it, it kind of, all that is kind of known that power's out and it's not coming back on.
Yeah.
And a couple guys go steal medication from like their nursing home or something, like, or the hospital where they're like keeping people at the end of their life. And they end up like taking them to the town hall, or like not, they have a town meeting and kill them. And then it kind of like establishes like, this is how we're doing this from here on out.
Yeah.
And people like, holy shit. Like, and then they start working together, but they create a small government.
It is interesting. Well, yeah, it is interesting to think about how sort of asleep at the wheel people are in society today, and how fragile it is, and how quickly it really could just crumble that fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a
It's a thin veneer.
yeah. It's not a far out idea. And the chaos. Imagine if a massive earthquake broke all the highways, and you couldn't get food trucks to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be devastating.
How many people have enough food in their house right now for 2 weeks? Probably not very many.
Probably not. I'd be willing
Or
to bet.
or a way to make clean water. Like, what if the water mains broke? How many people have a way to make clean water from dirty water in their house right now?
I mean, I think everybody's
Drinking
got
toilet water through a life
pots
straw.
and pans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're building filters with blankets and shit, and you're putting them into.
But that's not antimicrobial.
Yeah, but then boiling
nice
it
if-
afterwards is.
Okay.
Unless you have a well.
That's the only way you're.
But then to boil it, you have a wood stove.
Yeah, you.
If
fucking
the
start a
gas
fire
main
outside.
cracks, if the water, you know what I mean? Like, if you have massive infrastructure damage.
Yeah,
how many-
everybody burning
yes,
wood is gonna.
yes.
That's gonna.
How
yeah.
long is that going to last? Just like everybody's like, oh, I'll just go hunt if
Well,
it
I
ever
think-
gets bad. How long can the deer population sustain the human population? Not very long.
I think a lot of people would die within.
Yes. Oh, very quickly.
Yeah, that's
month.
a nice balance I think about is the great die-off. Like you talk about it like, yeah, say there isn't a major event. Well, that first winter, everyone's going to go decimate the animals, but then only a certain amount of people get them. And then the people that didn't, there's going to be huge die-off. So there's a symbiotic relation of the killing and the killers. And they both, I think if there was a major event, that first would be unreal.
I think
Well,
a lot
and
of
how
people
many people would be
wouldn't go
killed
hunt.
out in the forest trying to hunt by someone else who's also trying to hunt that same area?
I'm going to eat Bill.
That's what
I mean,
happens in this book.
Well, I might not eat Bill, but he
long
might have
fork.
some granola bars or
Yeah.
some shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
he might have a moon pie.
that's
Yeah.
what people were in this book, and it's interesting. I know it's a fictional book,
Yeah.
but
It's a great series.
It's a great series, and I was talking to Brent about it, and he was like, "I love reading
Yeah.
this fiction because it gives you ideas and perspectives of things that you may have not thought about in a story."
Yeah.
And it's like that could theoretically work, like some of the stuff they did. And
Oh, his daughter dying brought me to tears in that
I
book.
felt- yeah, I felt horrible.
It's super emotional, but it's like,
Spoiler alert.
whatever. He has multiple. You don't know which one. But it's like, yeah, that's thought experiment. Like I was saying at the very beginning, it's like, what do you want to do with Training Northwest? And it's like, well, that's the fucking fun part of it. It's like, what if this? What if that? And you kind of get to dictate, like, what do I want out of life? What could be the maximum? What could be this? But then in that same thought experiment, it's like, yeah, what could the worst of worst be? What could be losing loved ones? What could be losing necessity, food, water? And it's like, people never think about that. No one puts themselves in the mind perspective of that. And that's my favorite thing to do. Like, fucking the world, put yourself in the idea of a Nazi. I mean, people did do it. People were probably normal and they converted over to that, and now they're killing Jews, right? How do you do that? How do you become that person? And it's wild to put yourself in these thought experiments, and a thought experiment of how reliant we are on the grid, on food, trucking in and out, the ports, power, water. And what if you didn't have these things? And not only now you don't have them, well, what does that mean? That means people that need medication that you know and love might die. That means people that are older and frail are probably going to be the first to go. That means people that are pregnant, having new children, will lose children at birth, something that's never happened. And to think,
No, it's not never happened. It has not happened.
well, in the last
50 years.
yeah. That's what I mean.
So we have this. That's back to that veneer of what our society is. We've created some really good times, but it's fragile.
Yeah. And I don't feel like we're doing the right steps to help support these pillars that hold up this fragility.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. That's why Training Northwest is blowing up. That's why things that, people are just like, it feels off.
Yeah, the tower's getting top heavy.
Yeah.
You ever watch those prison shows where they're like, we follow her around a prison for a day, and they would be like, it felt like something was weird that day, and the prisoners would all be like, hey, something's off. Something's not right. And then what happens? Someone gets shanked in the play yard, the pen yard. I don't know what it's called.
The play yard. This is a different prison show.
Yeah. But it's like there is a feeling in that. And a lot of prisoners talk about it. And they say when bad stuff is about to happen, you can feel it. And I feel like there's a feeling in America
Sixth sense
of bad leadership.
There's it's a what do you call it? Not a premonition, but a bad omen. Everybody feels like there's a bad omen sort of hanging over America right now.
There's a weight to it.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. It has a lot to do with bad leadership. And part of it is I think that we all now sort of accept that the leadership is corrupt at every level, not just the executive level of the country, but state, municipal, all of it. It's all corrupt. And everybody's sort of looking around going, what do we do now? Because when even your law enforcement systems are corrupt, there is no enforcement, right? So it's just this runaway situation that's getting worse and worse and worse, and not just worse and worse and worse. It's more emboldened to where they're just sort of out in the open about it. Like God damn it, what did I read today? President Biden had just allocated like $5 billion to some new. It's to increase green energy
in third world countries.
Which what the fuck, dude? We all know they're not going to do a goddamn thing for third world countries. That's $5 billion they're going to embezzle. Not a fucking penny of that is going to a third world country green economy. Are you fucking kidding me?
I better see a lot of heat pumps in
Yeah.
fucking teepees and huts. Yeah.
No, it's $5 billion that they're stealing from taxpayers.
But
Straight
it's
up.
also like,
And that's part of the disillusionment that everybody is feeling with America right now. Is we all know it's fucked up. We all know it's corrupt, and everybody's looking around going, what do we do? What do we do? Where do we start?
it's not only just that feeling, but yes, I mean, as much as we talk shit about the internet, but that's how you get these FOIA releases, these email releases, these leaks.
But when the Department of Justice is corrupt, what the fuck does it matter? We know that the Trump-Russia collusion was a lie.
Yeah.
We know that the Hunter Biden laptop is real, which means that we also know that Joe Biden took money from China when he was the vice president. That makes him a traitor. That's treasonous act. That's punishable by death.
Yeah.
And nobody is doing a fucking thing. And it goes down. It's also happening at much lower levels than the president of the United States. And because the Department of Justice is corrupt and the FBI is corrupt, nobody does anything about it.
This is how
so now we're all looking around. There's going to come a point, I think, where they're going to start pushing against citizens and trying to strip rights, like really trying to strip rights away. And that's when it's going to boil over. That's my thought.
Or it's not a boil over. It's a slow dissolve and everything goes into the water. Like Rome didn't fall like all of a sudden one day we're Rome and now we're gone. It was through slow corruption and just services started to be less and less.
Yeah.
And when actions, like you said, you see treasonistic actions being taken and there's no repercussions for it. Well, it slowly just keeps boiling.
But here's the scary thing is what happened when Rome fell. We entered the medieval ages, which was like several hundred years of just shit and pestilence.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we'll do, though.
The world may be headed for a couple hundred years of...
That's why I get so sad when all these...
Or it could go the other way. Because...
No.
This could actually be the Great Awakening. Like a lot of people are calling that. We are in the age of Sagittarius, which is the age of the awakening. And it does seem like more and more people are starting to pay attention.
But awakening doesn't happen without going through shit, though.
Yeah.
To get that sweet bicep that Arnold Schwarzenegger had, he was feeling pain and sore and destroying tissue. To get change and greatness, we will go
there
through
may have
suffering.
To be a fight. There may have to, there will have to be some bad shit that comes. I just hope that people are strong enough to stand up for themselves rather than just, we kind of saw in COVID that the majority of people will just fall in line and do whatever the fuck they're told, which is frustrating.
Yeah. Well, that was a training though, right? Because next time it comes around, I think a lot of people...
Now we know the playbook, and I think it's coming again.
White lung.
Yeah. There's been a couple headlines in the last, what's today?
Not a couple. It spread from China to Europe to...
Today's December 3rd. Yeah. So here comes the next...
We got white lung.
What do you know? 2020, we had a pandemic just in time for 2024. It kind of feels like a coincidence, doesn't it?
I also think...
we shall see if it comes with all kinds of lockdowns and civil riots and... It's whatever, like, what do they call it? Like a pediatric pneumonia.
So there's been a pneumonia that's been especially affecting children, and it's come out of China. I think the northern part of China. And it's moved also throughout Europe, and apparently they have a couple cases on the East Coast. But I mean, this is how my mind works. Yes, maybe it's another thing. Maybe it's released from a lab, but also you just spent years locking people and isolating. Your immune system is so weak. So now the ability of something not as strong, but to take, have more of an effect in people whose systems are down. That was a big thing. I mean, as soon as kids went back to school, you started seeing kids have weird cases of hepatitis and all this stuff. Yeah. And it's like, you were also suppressing your immune system. What we're talking about with exposure therapy is that's how you keep your system strong. Yeah. So maybe the actions of a lockdown created our next foe. But also, I mean, all this shit's coming out of China.
A lot of it's for political grandstanding too. Like whether it's deadly or not, they can start saying, well, are you anti-vax? Are you anti-mask? Are you anti-lockdown? How do you not want to protect the children? Jordan, how do you not care about the children? Yeah. You have to wear a mask and you have to go get this shot 3 times because don't you care about children?
Mm-hmm. What about the grandparents? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And but now we didn't do shit, but the government says that now was it WHO is in charge when
yes, Biden also
pandemic
signed
comes
over.
through.
Yeah.
So let's give our power to a world global fucking
Unelected.
thing. Go fuck yourself.
Yes.
You think that's come?
Do you listen to Dr. Drew's podcast?
I do not.
I find it, he is such an advocate for doctor health and fighting this stuff and trying to understand what happened with our medical board, with our institutions taking true guidance from CDC and WHO. I think that podcast is phenomenal to listen to.
What's it called?
The Dr. Drew
Ask
show,
Dr.
right?
Drew.
Oh, there you go.
It's called, he's got multiple, but Ask. And he does it with a lady called Dr. Kelly Victory as well. And she was sidelined for not taking the vax and having a different opinion. But there is a weird medical thing going on too. That WHO thing is very...
The board and all of the medical schools are controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. Like, who funds them? The pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
So they're taught to regurgitate, memorized information. If A prescribed B, if C prescribed D, and then if you try to step outside that sort of pipeline of controlled information, then they just strip your credentials away.
Well, that's what was happening with Sean Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the diet, he was like,
Yeah,
I
but-
want to try and change people's diet. So they were like, you can't do that.
It's going to hurt her bottom line for surgery
we
dollars.
gotta.
Yeah, no, the medical industry is an industry for profit, and everybody needs to acknowledge that, because it's not an industry for feel good. It's an industry for making money.
Yeah, which is why I think having governmental fucking healthcare is a joke.
No, yeah,
I mean,
I want them to
think
compete.
universal basic, give something a basic, but our healthcare system's fucked up.
Well, maybe the basic is health foods.
Health, but I mean, if you get a
not-
broken arm or you're shot,
Yeah, I get
and they're
that.
like,
I
"Hey,
get
here's
that.
$200,000 bill," you're like, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
This is a human right.
Yeah,
hang on.
We got
You-
the
hang on.
ability.
Nobody has to pay that ER bill. They're not hold. There's nobody on
Yeah.
the streets right now who's like, "Oh, I'm out here because of my ER bill." Fuck that. You're allowed to walk. No ER can refuse you treatment, and you don't have to pay.
It
That's the
depends
system
on
we
the
have.
severity.
you can
yeah.
you can make payments
payments.
at whatever rate you can afford. Is it $5 a month? You can pay $5 a month for the rest of your fucking life to pay that medical bill off. And that's if they deny it, supposedly, then you don't ever have to pay it.
It's just
didn't
a
wanna work
faulty
with you.
system that you even have to.
No
do
one
that,
gets
though.
turned around in an emergency room, and
Yeah.
you can fight those bills down to like nothing.
Well, yeah,
Somebody's
but
getting the cost. We'll say that, but
Yeah,
also
it's us paying insurance.
yeah,
It's,
Yes,
it's what they're
that's
taking out of
what
our
it
paychecks.
is.
Yeah. Nobody's getting turned away, and nobody's getting drugged down the road for an overdue bill. But all of us, when we go to work, that payroll deduction is where it's coming out of.
Yeah.
So we are all being sort of robbed blind by this for-profit.
But that's kind of what taxes
But-
are supposed to
but
be.
that's-
You want
there's a
basic
difference,
fire, police. If there was universal
I-
basic where it was like, my arm's broken, they're like, come to the doctor, we fix it.
Okay.
You in and out, no money.
I got my leg surgery, right? I got my knee surgery. And I go to the consultation. They're like, okay, your knee's fucked. We're going to give you surgery. Okay. Then they gave me a brace for this knee surgery.
It's a $800 brace.
No, it was a $1,800 brace. And I bought the same exact one that didn't have the doctor's name on it on Amazon for like $150.
Yeah.
And it was like, motherfucker,
yeah.
like you're upcharging me 1,000%, like for a brace for a surgery that I
insurance will pay
obviously
it,
fucking need, and it's the insurance is what so.
Yeah, but
that's-
this is where
that's
we
what we're-
see the problem in all
But that's-
government
but that's
is
the
the
problem.
merger of government and business.
Yes.
These things that are supposed to be separate entities. Yes, you should have medical in government that takes care of its citizens. The point of the government is to take care of its citizen. But the problem is
No, it's
business
not.
has
It's to provide a framework in which
Yes,
the citizens
a framework.
can take care of themselves.
Fire, police, that's a framework.
Nope. A framework is just a set of laws.
But so if your house catches on fire and no one puts it out, then it spreads to the next person, and then the field, and then the forest.
But up until very recently, if you wanted a fire department, you had to locally raise a tax.
Yeah.
Not just put it on a ballot and fucking wing it through.
But these are the bases of what taxes should be.
Yes.
I mean, there should be services.
There should be services, but they've gotten out of fucking hand.
That's what I mean, yes.
They've gotten way out of hand. How do you reel them back in? And because, like I said, the fact that I'm paying that much for a private fucking
because
company,
you're seeing business merge with government. And that is the whole problem.
But that's where the law's being told. Like, that's why having insurance and being made to have insurance is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Having the government tell you that the government should, yes, provide safety and security for its citizens and infrastructure.
Yes.
Fucking quit talking about all this woke bullshit and fix that pothole. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, after that, it's up to us.
Yeah.
It's up to us to raise our kids the way we see fit.
Yeah.
There's reading, writing, arithmetic in fucking schools. That's it. Provide a healthy lunch for our kids when we go or when they go. You know, those are those things. Not all this other bullshit that is.
I'm going to push back. I don't think the school should provide lunch for you. I think mom and dad should provide.
Well, there you go. Okay. Yeah. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, but you look at France and they have great food for their children in schools.
I don't really give a shit. I want mom and dad providing
what's
food
their
for
tax?
the kids.
What's their tax at?
It's probably higher
80%,
than ours.
Some bullshit.
Dude,
I don't know, 80. That seems a little high.
Ours is at 60 if
We're
you add up
fucked.
the totals.
Well, yes, for every little nuance tax. Yes.
And that's the problem. Like, we're getting taxed on everything.
Yeah.
Every fucking thing we're getting taxed on. And that's why it's hard to, like, keep up with anything or, like, on top of those taxes, we're being manipulated into thinking we need more shit.
Yeah. But that's easy to correct.
Yeah, that's a self-control thing. But I like shit.
Yeah.
I fight about it all the time.
But I think because of these overtaxing, like we all agree, there should be taxing, there should be infrastructure and a little bit, just as a way as if we were a group or a family, a small country of 20 people or say a couple hundred at the gym. It's like, yeah, hey, we all work, everyone give a little money and I'll make sure you have food. This driveway we all pull in has no potholes, stuff like that.
I tried to
But the fact that there's so many extra crazy taxes allows allocation of extra funds that can be paid for fuckery, i.e. extra wars, military industrial complex. The audit of the military just happened. A month ago, and they failed. How many?
6 trillion. It's their 7th audit in a row or 6th audit in a row. They failed.
And it's like, this money is just, you're being taxed and it's not going to the right places.
But if you're short $300 on your income tax, they'll fucking put you in jail.
Yeah.
They'll fine you first, and then take you to court, and then they put you in jail.
But the places that it should be really put in is, like we said, like, the government should be, what our taxes should be, is a framework for us to be better. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Part of life is like, your cops, your fire, your broken arm gets, support your citizens.
We don't even have a government that supports its citizens. We have a government that actively opposes them.
That's
How fucked up is that? We pay for it, and it opposes us. How the fuck am I paying taxes to a government that makes it more difficult for me to run my business?
Because someone's trying to make money. The merger of business and government, I will say this over and over, I think that is our biggest problem.
Yeah.
That's where insider trading.
I'd agree.
Lobbying. Yeah, the amount of money you can give a political businesses count as personal
super PACs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is that? That's business and that's government. And that happened in the 60s to 70s, and it's never turned back, and it's gotten bigger. Yeah. I mean, it's been there throughout the time, but when these laws, when corporations could donate money, happened in this time frame. And what happened in that exact time frame? We went to a globalist society where instead of being dependent, when did Detroit fall, right? These exact same times. But it's when we said we're going to become this world power.
I was talking to Will the other day about Mike.
Oh God, let's hear it.
Just about have you ever noticed that it's not always English? He's speaking English, but it's not always like quite English.
I've got Northwest accent.
It's not some. And Will says he speaks cursive.
He speaks cursive.
Absolutely.
He goes, uh-huh.
Things go too fast over here.
Yeah.
I don't know how to convey the things in my head like slowly.
I'm with you, buddy.
You get in the zone.
Oh, dude. When I start foaming at the mouth, dude, it's like all this stuff's like downloading. And I'm like, trying to spit it out, and I'll start foaming.
I love it.
But
One of my favorite things.
that's my whole life, man. Just think about thoughts. Like I've always said it from day one. It's like I just showed you, how many minutes did I listened to 53 consecutive days of podcasting in 2023. But that's what it is. I find it so incredibly like not fulfilling, but if you think about 500 years ago, and to take in information, it would take a lifetime. But what you can get in a newspaper today was like 1 billion years back there then of information. Yeah. And just,
but you think that's why the things that they thought about last, because they're actually putting time into one single thought.
Chisel it out.
Yeah, learning how to carve a rock. Well, I mean, a blade,
all the Stoics and all that shit, all their sayings, like they're still being said.
Yeah.
They've stood the test of time.
Yeah.
But not many modern day philosophers are going to be quoted.
But Stoicism is all built off of like fundamentals and base.
Yeah.
Whereas like you look at like Fredrickson, or like you look at people like the difference between German economics and Scandinavian economics and their theory is like built off of such ethereal thought. Whereas things that Stoics are basing it off of is more of war, of immediate surroundings.
That's what I mean, but that's lasting.
We've often said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but that's
you're reading my mind.
But that's the entropy of society. Like that's what complexity is. And we've gotten to this point where not only do you have like the base of those past things, but it accrued and built off of that into something that's so complex. And that's where we find ourselves. All these like,
do you think that simplicity though is what we need? I think we need to get more simple.
I think it's a balance of simple and complex. You have to understand what you can do, but also what gives you purpose and where you came from. There is something about your roots and what your potential are. The two are balanced, but if you go all in, this is who I am, I'm all about the past. Well, that's fascism. That's where Nazis come. Oh, these new ideas they're going against our old traditions and who we are. And you go the complete opposite, and you're like, hey, everyone from the past is holding me down, and all the new stuff's right. Fuck those old guys. Well, that's what communists are. These are mental like aspects and balances. That's what the philosophy of these people, of the Bolsheviks, of your different philosophy. That's why all this stuff is so interesting. It's happening right now. I don't know. Like I said, it's that prison yard where you can sense there's a shanking gonna be happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like, this has all been happening for the past couple hundred years.
It repeats.
Today.
It repeats.
Yeah.
But that's why it's nice to look back to that stuff.
Well, the parallels between what's happening right now and the People's Revolution in China are like, I know nobody reads history anymore, which is part of the problem. But if you were to go read just some of the accounts of the People's Revolution, you would think, oh shit, this is the same playbook that's being used in the United States right now.
Yeah. School.
Yeah.
Youth.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
The education system.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think there's a swing. We were talking about it.
I think there's a swing coming back the other direction in like my kids' age.
The pendulum, I do hear
the
more
middle schoolers.
Yeah.
The middle schoolers are not playing this game.
Well,
which is actually really it's gratifying to see. Like, that's my son, and I'm not like preachy to him about this stuff, I try to not, have like, because you can get pretty negative pretty quickly. But he's pretty aware. Yeah, he's pretty aware of it. And when he brings it up,
avid
it's like,
listener.
Yeah, no. Him and his friends and sort of like his entire middle school, like not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I just hope it goes to the human spirit of you can feed me so much bullshit until I'm like, I've had enough. This is bullshit. Yeah. You can try and get something past me, but even at a certain point, I have to recognize bullshit.
I think we'll see if that's the case this year.
Yeah, we're going to find out in the next year, I think, for real.
Or we're living in huts, boys.
Oh, we might be. We might be.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging out with my buddies.
Yeah.
Then we just do a live podcast. This sounds great.
Yeah, around the campfire.
Have a drum circle. Yeah.
The podcast name fucking comes back.
Oh, man. All right. We're running out of steam. I'm going to cut it here. Mike, you got anything you want to add before we? You got any cursive left in there?
No cursive.
All right. Good night, everybody. We're tired.
Later.